Recently, this 10-year-old Klipsch subwoofer gave up the ghost. It had served well, but as I've discovered with a lot of these subwoofers, the amps used in the original equipment were not all you would expect them to be. This is now the fourth subwoofer I've had to rebuild, and turns out it's fairly easy to do. This Klipsch SW310 was supposedly a 300-watt amplifier. From what I could gather after pulling it, my guess is it's a Class D amplifier. On the Klipsch website, it says it's digital. So again, I think that sort of confirms the Class D, although it never says it. Obviously, there's no heat sinking on the back. On the component side of the plate, there is minimal heat sinking. And what I am going to do is use a Parts Express replacement plate amplifier. They have different sizes. You find one the closest to what you need, and then you get it in and just simple wiring to hook it up. This is the Parts Express amplifier I chose. It came closest to meeting the opening of the old amplifier in the enclosure. And as you can see, it has a big heatsink on the rear. It is also an AB rather than a Class D amplifier, although they do have Class D amplifiers if you so desire. In order to get the amplifier to fit the opening, I did have to shave the opening a bit. It was off by maybe 1/16 of an inch, which was not too difficult to create. I just had to shave the flanges on either side of the opening a bit to get it to fit. Now we are looking at inside the enclosure, and we have the driver in the center there. On either side is a passive radiator, and we have 3 wires here. The red and the black are the speaker wires. The little black wire in the center with the white connector was for an LED on the front of the cabinet. This will no longer be used. So it's just the 2 wires, and we will connect those. If you are not into soldering, this is a real easy project to practice soldering skills on. The wires are soldered here. All you have to do is twist them together, apply some flux and solder. You don't have to worry about burning out any components. So if you want to try your skills, this is an easy project to learn on. We have some shrink wrap tubing ready to slide in place here, and this is good to go. Now, there were connectors on either end of these wires. I did not feel like using the push-on connectors. I would have had to change them on one set of wires anyway, but I simply took the speaker wires, cut off the connectors, soldered them, and then the other end had clips on it, just clipped them back onto the speakers. So that's what we have here. This is the amplifier to speaker wire connection. Here's the amplifier all put back together. Very simple. Just had to screw it back down using the original screws from the Klipsch amp. It's a snug fit. It's a tight fit. The amplifier does come with a gasket to seal the opening, and it's good to go. Here's the business end of the subwoofer. It's all plugged up, ready to be plugged back in, and once it was plugged in, it fired right up and was functioning nicely. It does have the auto on you would expect on a subwoofer. It's got the multiple choices of inputs you'd find on a subwoofer, but best of all, it works and hopefully it will last. The other ones I've done with the Parts Express amps are still going after several years of function. They just seem to be made a lot better than the OEM amps.